And today we're here with Mya, who is a holistic practitioner that's local to where we are in West Palm. You mostly do acupuncture, correct?
Yes, traditional Chinese medicine and medical aromatherapy.
Which is essential oils, aroma, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we are pretty much discussing CBD. Who, Mya, you recommend CBD to patients that come to see you.
Many of them, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that it's pretty much getting to be pretty big now, or very popular. I mean, even compared to last year, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's something that you see everywhere. People are throwing around CBD, not sure what it is or how it works or where it comes from. So our hope is to maybe demystify it a little bit and clarify what it is, where it comes from, and how you can use it.
Yeah, demystify the... Look, people probably think the first thing is that it's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say you don't know anything about CBD oil or anything. So you probably think that it's illegal, like cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And you could probably think there's THC in it.
Right.
That you'll fail your drug test at work. That's probably two of the most common things. So, I mean, look, it doesn't have any THC in it. Most of it. I mean, some kinds of CBD like have a little trace amount of THC, so you got to be careful.
Right. Well, but I think the biggest differentiation is that CBD is cannabidiol, which is one chemical constituent in the cannabis plant. THC is a different, chemical constituent. So they are really not the same at all, other than that they come from the same hub plant, which is cannabis. With CBD supplements that you're seeing, some of them are considered full spectrum, which means that it contains all of the plant. Typically it comes from hemp, in which case there would be very little to no THC whatsoever, but that is something that you want to have tested and verified, because for some people they're more sensitive to that kind of a thing, and you might think you're taking CBD and it's going to help you feel relaxed and you feel really weird. But typically CBD does not make you high. No. In fact, it's actually a counterpart to when you get too high. So for people who do partake in things, if you find yourself a little too inebriated, CBD is actually what helps bring back some of the psychoactive effects that THC brings on. But it's its own thing, cannabidiol. Right. It has its own benefits isolated, but in a full spectrum product, the benefit is that you get all of these other wonderful cannabinoids that together really create, a whole greater than the sum of its parts. So
yeah, you're basically getting your endocannabinoid system like working better.
Exactly. It's turning it on. And the interesting thing about the endocannabinoid system is that there's receptors in the brain and there's receptors in the rest of your body. And basically, once you turn on this system, its whole job is to create homeostasis anywhere in the system.
Harmony work.
Harmony works, homeostasis. That's the goal of it, which is why they're still studying it, because there's just a vast number of benefits.
So all right. So then I'm thinking, so problems that I might have, like anxiety, or I can't sleep, or just for maybe a few, that means possibly my endocannabinoid system, were it in harmony or homeostasis, that can cause those issues to be fixed.
In a nutshell, if you can access the endocannabinoid system and turn on that ability to have homeostasis throughout the system, then there can be a wide range of benefits, anxiety being one, inflammation, blood sugar regulation, heart rate, cardiovascular things, neuroprotective things. I mean, there's digestive issues.
Pain, people take it for pain. Inflammation, I guess, covers that.
Yeah, great for sleep. Great for sleep.
Yeah, If I have pain, though, that probably is not because my endocannabinoid system is out of whack, though. That's just something, if I have that, somehow CBD helps pain. I mean, you see tons of people who it helped.
It can help with pain. It certainly, if you have pain, that's not an indicator,
Yeah.
like you said, that your endocannabinoid
Yeah.
system isn't, in check or what have you. It's not a diagnostic thing, but by activating that system through something like a hemp extract, then that can, with the right dose, bring pain relief or, soothing anxiety, mood stabilization, different things like that.
Yes, so I think it's good for, it's good for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am in a couple of groups. Like, I think I'm in 2 groups on Facebook that is CBD oil users.
Mm-hmm.
There's thousands of people in these groups.
Yeah.
Like, one of them has, like, almost 100,000 people
Oh, yeah.
active.
Yeah.
And you don't believe some of the stuff they have. Diseases, I never even heard a lot of these things. But
Right.
they're saying there's people in there, and they swear that CBD has helped them recover and get better.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, cannabis is an amazing plant. In Chinese medicine, it's been documented for over 5,000 years. And it's something we have a system for it because as we've evolved, it's something that has been part of our growth. And so we respond very well to this very genius natural medicine. And that's why I think CBD is popular, but the full spectrum extract is where you really get the full host of all of that wonderful plant medicine. And I think that, our systems are always keen to try and heal and balance themselves, and whether it's acupuncture or something like CBD that can ignite that process in your system, then there's a really big world of possibilities when it comes to benefits and relief.
So, okay, I have an endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
That is already naturally in my brain and in like whatever other parts.
Right.
So God puts this plant on earth
Mm-hmm.
as a healing thing for my endocannabinoid system that is already in me. So it makes total sense to me.
Well,
Really, truthfully.
we're part of nature,
I
so
don't really see how that, to me, it's just a logical thing. If I bought my bottle of CBD,
Mm-hmm.
now how do I know how much to take each time as a beginner?
That is an excellent question, and I think that is one of the biggest issues that we
Yeah.
have is, it's not standard. One person, 5 milligrams can be effective. For another person, 5,000 milligrams can be effective. What I like to say to people as sort of a rule of thumb is, number one, make sure you have a very good CBD product. You don't want something that's not tested or has a bunch of fillers. You really want to make sure you're getting a product that is what it says it is. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what's your height and what's your weight? A linebacker is probably not going to take the same, amount as a ballerina dancer, so that's another thing to consider. Another thing to consider is, what is your metabolism like? Are you someone that when you eat, it kind of sits there for a little bit? Or do you have a really fast metabolism? Because that's going to indicate how quickly your system is going to metabolize this substance, because a lot of times it's through your digestion. So that's another thing to think about. And another one is what kind of person are you? Are you someone who tends to be very sensitive to medications? Some people, they take half of a recommended dose of anything and they feel it really strongly. Some people can get hit over the head with a bottle of aspirin and nothing happens. So you kind of want to get a sense of, how do you metabolize alcohol? Are you someone who uses cannabis in other ways? These are just some baseline things to consider. That being said, I would start with a 5 to 10 milligram dose for anybody. Try to take it not on a very full stomach, because your food's going to be breaking down, and if you want to get a sense of how quickly it hits you, try to have a little room in your digestion. And you want to give it 30 minutes before you kind of check in with yourself to to see how you're feeling and any changes you might have. So you might feel like the pressure in your personal space has gone from here, high stakes, to just a little bit calmer, a little bit easier, not as pressurized. You might feel a little bit more hopeful. If you're someone who tends to have your mood a little bit lower, you might feel a little bit lifted. But generally, a little sense of ease, and even if you're having nausea, that would lessen. But you want to give it about 30 minutes before you kind of recheck in and see.
So, all right, if it doesn't work at 5 or 10 milligrams, I do...
You do what?
Well, so what do I do? So I go up, I mean, to me, I would say I probably need to, like, take 20 milligrams instead.
Well, here's another thing. You don't want to...
Can it take time, though? What happens if, like, does it take a certain amount of time to start having an effect on whatever it is? Let's say it's anxiety. Does it take a certain amount of days before you're really going to see anxiety like lessening? Or does it take a certain amount of days of taking it before you see pain lessening?
Knee pain or something like that. You know, everybody's different, but I like to follow with any sort of supplementation, because I use a wide range of different herbal medicines. I like to give things the rule of 3. So you want to give it 3 days of taking it at the recommended dosage consistently before you kind of evaluate, is this working for me or not? So let's say the recommended dosage is 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. Then you want to do that consistently for 3 days before you reevaluate. And the reason why is because these things break down in our system, and you want to try and have the same amount of whatever you're trying to put in your system in your bloodstream consistently before you can check in and see how it's affecting you personally. Now, I realize that, you know, when it comes to pain and anxiety, you want things to kick in more quickly, and hopefully they do, but you want to give it that amount of time. I will say that I think when it comes to sleep and anxiety and nausea, you tend to kind of experience some results more quickly. When it comes to things like chronic pain and inflammation, then you want to give it a little bit of time, because what you're dealing with has been present for a long amount of time. So that's my recommendation there. And
it works totally, like, all right, so Prozac works on whatever it works on in your brain. This works on a totally different thing. For anxiety or whatever it is. It's not like it's... So Prozac or whatever you're taking, sometimes those things take a long time to, like, start even feeling. This is something that is a totally different mechanism that it works on.
Correct.
So it's not the same.
Correct. You know, when you're dealing with, you know, not to say which is better or worse, because that's not the discussion, but when you're dealing with something like Prozac, you're dealing with your serotonin uptake and all of that, which is a completely different avenue. Also, brain chemistry is very complex, and it's hard to navigate and figure out what's going on up there when you take things, but your cannabinoid receptors, CB1 is in your brain, CB2 is distributed throughout the rest of your body. So that's what you're activating. You're turning on this different system that starts in the brain and then works through the peripheral nervous system. And so you're just going about it a different way. And, you know, our beings are complex, and so it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's good. Now you have a formula to go by if you're a first-time user of CBD oil. So now you have a pretty much practical way of starting to take it if you're a beginner. And we'll be back with some more information on it. And thanks, Mia.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
So we'll be back to you.